My next patron question is from Andrew, who wants to know why a particular animated film is so revered. Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli is considered one of the greatest animators of all time, and for good reason. He's created some of the most beloved animated features in the past 50 years. When it comes to the best movie in his repertoire, many seem to consider his 2001 release Spirited Away to be his magnum opus. From your past reviews, I can see that you're a big fan of Spirited Away, and that's one of your all-time favorite movies. Now, as both a Miyazaki and animation fan, I do think Spirited Away is a wonderful movie. However, there are other Miyazaki films that I actually prefer. Why do you think the majority of viewers consider Spirited Away to be Miyazaki's best movie, as opposed to, say, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbor Totoro, Castle in the Sky, Kiki's Delivery Service, or The Wind Rises? Like a good amount of people, Spirited Away is my favorite Hayao Miyazaki film, although I do think highly of many of his films. This movie is actually an important one in terms of my film education. You see, for a long time I associated Japanese animation with things like Pokemon, and my younger self assumed that's what all Japanese animation was like. Cheaply made animated shows where big-eyed characters fight monsters. I do remember seeing trailers for Kiki's Delivery Service and Castle in the Sky on a few Disney videos in the late 90s, and the VHS of My Neighbor Totoro at the local video rental place, but that was the extent of my exposure to Miyazaki, and I just never developed an interest in seeing them. Not long after Spirited Away won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, I actually wound up seeing the movie in theaters, not knowing what to expect. What I saw absolutely blew me away, and I realized Japanese animation was a lot more than just Pokemon, Digimon, and all the other mons. Spirited Away basically served as my gateway to not only the works of Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, but the rest of what Japanese animated features have to offer, hence why it holds a special place in my heart. But what is it about the film that proved so special to not only myself, but several others as well? I think a large part of the enchantment comes from the world Miyazaki created. While he was inspired by Japanese folklore and mythology, he also incorporated a lot of his own ideas and concepts. Just the notion of a bathhouse visited by creatures and monsters and mythological beings is so inspired, and he found so many creative uses for the setting. Around every corner something magical is going on, and the first time you watch the movie, you really don't know where it's going. There are constant surprises as the plot unfolds. Another important element of Spirited Away is the lead protagonist, Chihiro. Miyazaki was inspired to create the character from his friend's preteen daughter, who he felt came across as aloof. He also found the teen magazines her and her friends read lacked much substance beyond pretty boys, and wanted to create an inspiring character for that demographic. Chihiro does fit into a similar mold as characters like Lewis Carroll's Alice and L. Frank Baum's Dorothy. She starts off her journey bored with where her life is, and then she's thrown into a journey that requires her to be headstrong and resourceful. The development she goes through is beautifully done, and I like that after her first meeting with Aku, she takes immediate action in trying to reverse the situation she's in and end the spell that has turned her parents into pigs. In contrast to the greedy character she encounters at the bathhouse, Chihiro mostly displays kindness and an interest in aiding those she views as needing help like herself. This is especially shown through her interactions with No-Face. His entire development comes from the sympathy Chihiro shows him and the fact she treats him differently than the others in the bathhouse. His arc is really well explored throughout his screen time. Miyazaki crafts so many breathtaking sequences in Spirited Away. One of the highlights is when Chihiro washes a polluted river spirit, which not only is a great showcase for Chihiro's character, but is also one of the rare moments where the entire bathhouse works together. The look and animation in the movie also represents some of the most stunning work in a Miyazaki film. Every single character leaves a memorable impression, and the animators gave them so much personality. I love when Chihiro first smells the stench of the contaminated water spirit, and her hair stands up. The animation on Aku's dragon form is also excellent. Then there's the score by Joe Hisaishi, which is triumphant and mysterious and exciting in all the right spots. He has composed so many wonderful scores for Miyazaki's movies, but his tracks on Spirited Away definitely rank among my favorites of his. So in the end, what is it about Spirited Away that resonates with people the most? I think a large reason is the journey Chihiro goes on. It's easy to get swept up by this magical place she winds up in, and the way the film utilizes Japanese myths. There's something almost universal about these kinds of stories, where someone winds up transported to another world, which is why the likes of Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, and The Wizard of Oz still resonate. The movie also left a major impact on Japanese audiences, as Spirited Away was the highest-grossing movie in Japan for several years. It's a film that combines so many of Hayao Miyazaki's best filmmaking qualities into an amazing and fantastical adventure. Thank you for your question, Andrew.